Hello and welcome to Mastermind with me, John Humphrys. In the spotlight tonight are Andrew Patterson, a retired GP whose specialist subject is the life of Ernest Rutherford. Vivian Radford, a personal assistant who'll be answering questions on the Hitchcock films of Cary Grant. Tom Gibson, a test engineer, his subject, motorways of England. And Owen Jackson, a civil servant, his subject, the Poldark novels. Four more contenders putting themselves to the test tonight, each with the dream that they will be crowned the nation's mastermind. All that's standing in their way is that they have to see off the other three here tonight. The rules stay the same, 2 minutes of questions on their specialist subject and then 2.5 minutes on general knowledge. So, let's have our first contender, please. And your name is?
Andrew Patterson.
Your occupation?
A retired GP.
And your chosen subject?
The life of Ernest Rutherford.
Scientist regarded as the father of nuclear physics. Here we go. Rutherford was born in New Zealand in 1871 near a town whose name he would later incorporate into his title when he became Baron Rutherford. Which town?
Nelson.
Yep, Rutherford got 2 undergraduates and 1 postgraduate degree from the University of New Zealand before he was awarded a research scholarship in 1895. He used it to do research at which Cambridge University laboratory?
The Cavendish.
Yep, Rutherford became the Professor of Physics at Victoria University, Manchester in 1907. Working with Thomas Royds, he proved that alpha particles were atoms of an element stripped of its electrons. Which element?
Helium.
Yep. In response to his award of the 1908 Nobel Prize in Chemistry, Rutherford wrote to Otto Hahn, "I am very startled at my metamorphosis into a chemist." Which Swedish scientist nominated Rutherford for both the Physics and Chemistry Prize in that year?
Arrhenius.
Yes. Rutherford claimed that the heating effect of radium gave the Earth an age of hundreds of millions of years, which contradicted the views of an eminent scientist. Rutherford later heard him talking about radium and said, "I admire his confidence in talking about a subject of which he has taken the trouble to learn so little." Which scientist?
Lord Kelvin.
Yep. In 1918, Rutherford became the first person to create an artificial nuclear reaction when he used alpha particles that occurred naturally to bombard the nucleus of an atom of which element?
Beryllium.
Nitrogen. Which particle, whose existence was predicted by Rutherford in 1920, was discovered at the Cavendish laboratory by Rutherford's associate James Chadwick in 1932?
The neutron.
Yep. In 1932, a team of scientists working under Rutherford split the atom by artificial means for the first time. The results were published in the journal Nature in a paper entitled "Disintegration of Lithium by" what?
Alpha particles.
Swift protons. In 1933, Rutherford declined an invitation to visit the home of the physicist Max Born because a German chemist would be present, and according to Born, Rutherford did not wish to have any contact with a man who had invented chemical warfare. Who was the chemist?
Haber.
Yes, Fritz Haber. You have no passes, Andrew. You've scored 7 points. And our next contender, please. And your name is?
Vivian Radford.
Your occupation?
I'm a personal assistant.
And your chosen subject?
It's the Hitchcock films of Cary Grant.
4 of those films released between 1941 and 59. Here we go. One of the 4 films Cary Grant starred in for Alfred Hitchcock is based on the novel Before the Fact, written by Anthony Berkeley Cox under the pen name Francis Isles. Which film?
Suspicion.
Yep. In To Catch a Thief, Danielle Foussard helps the former burglar John Roby to escape by boat when the police arrive at Bertani's restaurant. Their destination is a beach club in a French resort. Which one?
Cannes.
Yep. In North by Northwest, the advertising executive Roger Thornhill is attacked by a low-flying crop duster plane after he leaves a bus on a deserted highway to Indianapolis. What's the number of this highway?
It's the Prairie Stop.
Highway 41. In Notorious, the spy Alicia steals a key from her husband's keyring to break into his wine cellar. She's able to identify the correct key because of the maker's name that's written on it. What is this name?
Unica.
Yeah. In Suspicion, Lena's father, General McLaidlaw, is a member of a prestigious local hunt whose lavish ball is gate-crashed by her future husband, Johnny Aysgarth. What's the name of the hunt?
Beauchamp.
Yep. In To Catch a Thief, John Roby offers to teach the wealthy American Frances Stevens a new sport. She declines and tells him, I was women's champion at Sarasota, Florida last season. Which sport?
Water skiing.
Yep. In Notorious, the American agent Devlin accidentally breaks a wine bottle and is forced to replace it with another from elsewhere in the wine cellar. The replacement is spotted because it bears a different vintage from the rest on the shelf, which are all dated 1934. What year is on the replacement bottle?
1940.
Yep. In North by Northwest, Hitchcock has a cameo role in which he tries but fails to board a bus. In To Catch a Thief, he makes another brief appearance as a passenger on the back seat of a bus next to Cary Grant's character. What object is on the seat on the other side of Grant?
A birdcage.
Yep. In Notorious, Devlin informs Alicia that he's working undercover as a public relations officer for an international airline, but he doesn't explain much more. The less detail, the better, he says. Which airline?
American.
No, Pan American.
Pan Am.
In Suspicion, the newly married Johnny and Lena Aysgarth rent a substantial property in a fictional village in Sussex. What's the name of the village?
Glen Cove.
Wickstead. And you had no passes, Vivienne. You have 7 points. And our next contender, please. And your name is?
Tom Gibson.
Your occupation?
Test engineer.
Your chosen subject?
Motorways of England.
The network of motorways across England. Here we go. Which transport minister opened the first section of the M1 in November 1959? He warned motorists that the speed which can easily be reached is so great that senses may be numbed and judgment warped.
Ernest Rutherford.
Yes. England's first motorway was the Preston Bypass, which was opened in December 1958. It now forms part of the M6 between junction 32 at Broughton and another junction at Bamber Bridge. What number junction?
34.
29. Which flyover was opened by the American actress Jane Mansfield in September 1959? The flyover later became part of the M4.
Chiswick flyover.
Yeah, a notably difficult section of the M62 to construct with a 7-mile stretch where it crosses the Pennines in West Yorkshire, which took 7 years to complete. Who was the chief engineer?
Barnes.
Geoffrey Hunter. Part of the M4 was built over an airfield which had been the initial home for British Airways when the company was formed in 1936. A service station was also built on the site. What airfield?
Heston.
Yep. Leicester Forest East service station on the M1 opened in 1966 with a restaurant in the bridge over the motorway. Who designed that restaurant, which was decorated like an ocean liner, had waiters dressed in sailor suits?
Foster.
Conran. What's the name of the interchange between the M4 and the M5? The Transport Minister Barbara Castle watched its completion in 1966 and described motorway interchanges as the cathedrals of the modern world.
Almondsbury.
Yep, the expansion of one motorway was delayed at Twyford Down in 1992 after protesters established a camp and had to be forcibly removed. Which motorway?
M3.
Yep. Who opened the final section of the M25 in October 1986 at a ceremony near Watford and said, I can't stand those who carp and criticise when they ought to be congratulated Britain on a magnificent achievement.
Margaret Thatcher.
Yeah. In 1964, a motor racing driver and his co-driver, Peter Bolton, tested their car on the M1 ahead of the Le Mans 24-hour race, and they were reported to have clocked up a speed of over 180 miles an hour. Who was the chief driver?
Hill.
Sears. When it was constructed in the 1970s, the M67, which is only 5 miles long, was intended to be the first part of a motorway that linked Manchester to another city in northern England. Which city?
Sheffield.
Correct. You have no passes, Tom. 7 points. And our final contender, please. And your name is?
Owen Jackson.
Your occupation?
Civil servant.
And your chosen subject?
The Poldark novels.
Series of novels by Winston Graham, set in the 18th and 19th century in Cornwall, chronicling the lives of the Poldark family. 2 minutes, starting now. In the first novel in the series, Ross Poldark returns from the war in America in 1783 to inherit the family estate after the death of his father. What's the name of the family home?
Nampara.
Yep, Ross first meets his future wife, Demelza, when she's trying to rescue her dog from a fight at Redruth Fair. When he discovers that she has an abusive father, he employs her as a kitchen maid. She brings the dog to live with her. What's the dog called?
Garrick.
Yep. On the night before she gives birth to her first child, Julia, Demelza finds a small animal in the garden at Nampara, which she plays with and tries to feed. What animal?
Squirrel.
Hedgehog. In Jeremy Poldark, when Ross is about to stand trial for riot and assault, a broadsheet claims to reveal true and sensational facts in the life of Captain Ross Poldark, bold adventurer, seducer and suspected murderer. How much does the broadsheet sell for?
1 penny.
Yep. The Poldark family made their money from mining. One of their mines was renamed Wheel Grace by Joshua Poldark in honour of his wife, Ross's mother. What was the mine previously called?
Wheel Maiden.
Trevorgy mine. Winston Graham initially wrote 4 Poldark books, and these were published during the 1940s and 50s. He returned to the series 20 years later with a new book, the first not to be named after a character in the novels. What is its title?
Black Moon.
Yep, the library at Nampara House contains a variety of objects, including the figurehead of a ship, which came ashore in 1760, 3 days after Ross was born. What was the name of the ship?
The Mary Buckingham.
Yep. In The Stranger from the Sea, Warlegan's Bank announces its merger with the Devon and Cornwall Bank of Plymouth, Saltash, Bodmin and Liskeard. What surname is combined with Warlegan in the new name of the bank?
Williams.
Yeah. What's the name of the country house owned by the Warlegan family, where the wedding reception for George and Elizabeth is held in the novel entitled Warlegan?
Cardew.
Yep. Demelza Poldark has 6 brothers, all younger than her. They're Luke, Samuel, William, John, Robert, and which other? By the end of the series, he works as a boat builder in Lou.
Drake.
Yep. Which character in Ross Poldark claimed to have more hair on his body than any man living, a boast he was ready to put to the proof for a 50-guinea bet? Ross visits him after Jim Carter is caught poaching on his land.
Sir Hugh Bodrugan.
Is correct. No passes, Owen. You have 9 points. A close round. Let's have a look at all of those scores. Tied for second place, 7 points apiece. Andrew, Vivian and Tom. First place with 9 points, Owen. So, now it is the general knowledge round, and if there's a tie at the end of that one, then the number of passes is taken into account. And the person with the fewer passes is the winner. And if they're tied on passes as well, there has to be a tie break. So, let's ask Andrew to join us, please. Andrew, you start out, as 2 others do, with 7 points. Let's see how you do with your general knowledge, for which you have 2.5 minutes. Here we go. What's the name for the group of people who deliver a verdict in a legal trial based on the evidence they hear in court?
Jury.
Yep. In 1996, the future Prime Minister, David Cameron, married the daughter of a baronet, Sir Reginald Sheffield. What's her first name?
Hilda.
Samantha. A series of monologues written by Alan Bennett, first shown in the 1980s, was remade in 2020 with a different cast that included Martin Freeman, Imelda Staunton and Christian Scott Thomas. What's the title of the series?
Talking Heads.
Yes. What word from the French verb to undertake is commonly used in English for a person who sets up a business and takes on its financial risks?
Entrepreneur.
Yep. In the 1945 film musical Anchors Aweigh, Gene Kelly appears to dance with a cartoon mouse. Which mouse?
Mickey Mouse.
Jerry. In the St. Valentine's Day Massacre in 1929, members of a gang led by Al Capone murdered several followers of his rival, Bugs Moran. The incident took place in which city?
Chicago.
Yep. For many years, the former lead singer of The Verb, Richard Ashcroft, was involved in a legal dispute with a veteran British band over the sample of an orchestral version of their song, The Last Time. Which band?
The Kinks.
The Rolling Stones. In imperial measurements of weight, a pound is equal to how many ounces?
14.
16. When the Royal Academy was founded in 1768, it appointed as its first president a well-known portrait painter. What was his name?
Gainsborough.
Reynolds. At the Olympic Games, the modern pentathlon is made up of shooting, swimming, horse riding, running, and which other sport?
Archery.
Fencing. The Sultanate of Brunei is on the north coast of a large island, most of which is part of Malaysia and Indonesia. What's the name of the island?
Borneo.
Yep. The elder son of the novelist Evelyn Waugh was a journalist, critic and author. What was his first name?
Auberon.
Yep. A French cabaret singer whose adopted surname is a French slang term for sparrow, had huge success with ballads such as Non, je ne regrette rien and La vie en rose. What was her name?
Edith Piaf.
Yes. Soldiers in a certain corps of the British Army are known as sappers, a reference to their historical role of building and repairing fortifications. The name of the corps is sometimes abbreviated to the letters RE. Which corps?
Royal Engineers.
Yep. The Order of the Elephant, whose symbol is a white elephant with a tower on the top, is the highest order of chivalry in which European country?
Switzerland.
Denmark. A hard cheese similar to Emmental and commonly used to make fondue is named after a town near Lausanne in western Switzerland where it originated in the Middle Ages. What cheese?
Gruyere.
Yep. Which large species of whale, distinguished by its block-shaped head, is sometimes called the cachalot?
Humpback.
Sperm whale. No passes. Andrew, you now have a total of 16 points.
Thank you.
And next up we have Vivian. And you, of course, start out with 7 points. 16, now the score to beat. Here we go. 2.5 minutes of general knowledge. Boris Johnson was elected leader of the Conservative Party in 2019 after the resignation of the previous leader. What's her name?
Theresa May.
Yes. The Armani fashion label was established in the mid-70s by an Italian designer. What's his first name?
Giorgio.
Yep. A mufti is a legal advisor who gives rulings on theological matters in which religion?
Islam.
Yes, the American boxer Walker Smith Jr., who won world titles at both welterweight and middleweight in the 1940s and 50s, fought under what name?
Thriller from Manila.
Sugar Ray Robinson. Which European country is a small landlocked principality that has borders with Switzerland and Austria?
Liechtenstein.
Yes, in the title of a 1966 play by Tom Stoppard, two minor characters from Hamlet are dead. What are their names?
Ophelia and...
No, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
Yeah.
Which British daily newspaper launched in 1896 was the first national title to be launched by Alfred Harmsworth, later Lord Northcliffe?
Telegraph.
The Mail. A substance such as penicillin or streptomycin, which is often made from a living organism and is used to treat or prevent an infection, is known by a generic name derived from Greek words for against and life. What name?
Antibiotic.
Yeah. What was the pen name of the Scottish short story writer Hector Hugh Munro? He was killed in action in the First World War.
Robert Louis Stevenson.
Saki. In the 1967 animated film The Jungle Book, the voice of the hypnotic snake is provided by Sterling Holloway, and in the 2016 live-action version of the film, it's provided by Scarlett Johansson. What's the name of the snake?
Miss me. No, pass.
Which author and pamphleteer wrote the 1791 work The Rights of Man in defence of the French Revolution? He was briefly imprisoned during the Reign of Terror.
No, pass.
What's the title of the children's television series originally broadcast in the 1990s that features Linda Barron as Auntie Mabel? In the show, she flies a small spotted plane accompanied by her dog, Pippin.
Pass.
A word for a fighter in an irregular independent armed force is derived from the diminutive form of the Spanish for war. What word?
Mercenary.
Guerrilla. The seaside resort of Allen Bay, noted for its multicoloured sand beaches, is on an island off the south coast of England. Which island?
Isle of Wight.
Yep, that is correct. You have 3 passes, Vivian. Come Outside is the title of that children's television series. Thomas Paine wrote The Rights of Man, and the snake had the name of Kaa. Yeah. You've scored a total of 13 points. And now Tom again, please. And Tom, you have 7 points as well, and 16 is still the score to beat. So here we go with your general knowledge. The public square, the Place de la Concorde, is at one end of the Avenue des Champs-Élysées. In which European city?
Paris.
Yep. Which broadcaster, born in Limerick, Ireland, was the regular host of the BBC Radio 2 breakfast show from 1972 to 84, and again from 93 to 2009. He died in 2016.
Terry Wogan.
Yeah. In the card game Pontoon and the similar game Blackjack, a picture card is worth how many points?
10.
Yep, the television presenter who has co-hosted Dancing on Ice and This Morning also stood in for Ant McPartlin on the 2018 series of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. What's her name?
Holly Willoughby.
Yes, which 19th century poet owned a pet spaniel called Flush, whose biography was written by Virginia Woolf and published in 1933?
Yeats.
Elizabeth Barrett Browning. What informal word for a small measure of Scotch whisky has the same origin as the name of a unit of fluid measurement of 60 minims?
Dram.
Yep. The singer Harry Styles made his film acting debut in a 2017 war film as a British soldier evacuated from France in 1940. What film?
Dunkirk.
Yep. What was the first name of the Prince of Denmark, later the Duke of Cumberland, who married Queen Anne of Great Britain? Her uncle, King Charles II, said of him, "I have tried him drunk and I've tried him sober and there's nothing in him."
George.
Yes. What word for a watering hole or fertile spot in a desert can also refer to a pleasant area or place of refuge in the midst of hectic surroundings?
Oasis.
Yep. Which East European capital city stands on the banks of the river Dębovica, a tributary of the Danube?
Warsaw.
Bucharest. A rower who makes a faulty stroke in which an oar gets stuck underwater and acts as a brake is said to catch a...
Crab.
Yes. Which form must by law be given by an employer to an employee when they leave their job? It provides details of the person's earnings and tax deductions for a new employer.
P45.
Yep. Bringing it all back home, Blonde on Blonde and Blood on the Tracks were all UK hit albums in the 1960s and 70s for which American singer-songwriter?
Bob Dylan.
Yep. The Prime Minister of Ireland is known by a title that's an Irish word for leader or chief. What title?
Taoiseach.
Taoiseach. Yep. The 2001 biography of Billy Connolly, entitled Billy, was written by his wife, an actress, comedian and psychologist. What's her name?
Sue Goldsmith.
Pamela Stevenson. Which American Ivy League university was founded in 1746 as the College of New Jersey?
Harvard.
Princeton. A British Society of Magicians and Illusionists founded in 1905 has a motto which translates as not apt to disclose secrets. What's the official name of this society?
The Magic Circle.
Yes. Which English king's reign from 1135 to 1154 was marked by a period of civil unrest because of the rival claim to the throne of Henry I's daughter, Matilda?
Stephen.
Is correct. No passes, Tom. You now have a total of 21 points. And finally, Owen again, please. And Owen, you start out with 9 points. However, the score to beat now, if you're to get through to the semi-finals, is 21. Here we go. What name is given to the method of quickly writing down spoken words with a system of abbreviations and symbols? It's traditionally been used by journalists, and the best-known form of it is named after the British schoolteacher Isaac Pitman.
Shorthand.
Yep, the 1948 novel Cry the Beloved Country by Alan Paton is about the injustices of racial segregation in which country?
Jamaica.
South Africa. In the title of an American sitcom of the 1980s and 90s about 4 older women who lived together in Miami, the characters Blanche, Rose, Dorothy and Sophia are known collectively by what name?
The Plastics.
The Golden Girls. The J. Paul Getty Museum and the Broad are art galleries in which American city?
Chicago.
Los Angeles. A French naval officer who became known for his films about marine exploration co-developed the Aqualung. What was his name?
Jean-Luc.
Jacques Cousteau. Which song by Hot Chocolate reached number 2 in the UK singles chart in 1975 and was later featured on the soundtrack to the 97 film The Full Monty?
I Believe in Miracles.
You Sexy Thing. Which Southeast Asian river forms part of the border between Laos and Thailand and empties into the South China Sea?
The River Kwai.
Mekong. A design of a £10 note, first issued by the Royal Bank of Scotland in 2017, features a portrait of a scientist and astronomer who was born in Jedburgh in 1780. What was her name?
James Watt.
Mary Somerville. The 1969 Representation of the People Act reduced the voting age at UK elections from 21 to what?
18.
Yep. What Italian dish has a name that translates as mixed roast?
Spaghetti Bolognese.
Arrosto misto. The United States Air Force ran a project from 1952 to 69 that investigated reports of unidentified flying objects. What was the name of the project?
Orion.
Blue Book. A famous 1953 collage by Henri Matisse in the collection of the Tate Gallery is named after a gastropod mollusk. What's its title?
The Octopus.
The Snail. In 1968, Manchester United became the first English club to win the European Cup when they beat a Portuguese football team 4-1 in the final. Which club?
Porto.
Benfica. In the acronyms BODMAS and BIDMAS, which represent the order of priority of arithmetical operations, the letter B stands for what piece of notation?
Pass.
I can tell you because we're out of time. Brackets. And you have scored now a total, Owen, of 11 points. Well, we have a very clear winner. Let's have a look at the final scores. In fourth place with 11 points, Owen. Third place with 13 points, Vivian. Second place with 16 points, Andrew. First place with 21 points, Tom, which means that he goes through to the semi-finals. Congratulations to him. And if you'd like to be a contender in the next series, do go to our website, bbc.co.uk/mastermind, and you can follow us at Mastermind Quiz. And do join us again next time for more Masterminds, and thanks for watching. Goodbye.
I've watched Mastermind for a very long time. I remember watching it very young as a child when Magnus Magnusson was on it, and I just love quiz shows, and to be able to have been able to come on today and do it again in the near future is great. I was lucky that it was close in the first round, but as soon as I got all the general knowledge questions, I was just on a playing a blinder, so I was really happy with that.
Crab.
Yes.
Bob Dylan.
Yep.
The Magic Circle.
Yes.
Stephen.
Correct. You now have a total of 21 points.
It hasn't quite sunk in yet. I mean, I feel extremely happy. I can't wait to tell my family and everything. My sister and I, we go quizzing a lot in Cambridge. There's lots of different pubs around there, and it's great to go out and have some family time together. I think the guys in the pub quiz team that I'm part of, they'll be really happy for me that I've won today, and that'll make me a bit more popular within the quizzing circuit in Cambridge and everything like that.